Hi everyone, I'm Pete Trego and welcome again to the Clubhouse. If you're enjoying listening to all our world-class sportsmen that are joining us on the show, please click the links to subscribe and follow our channels. Today, I don't think they get much bigger than two-time World Cup winner, Indian cricket sensation, Yuvraj Singh. How are you, Yuvi?
I'm good, Trego. How are you, brother?
I've got to be honest, mate. I'm near going mad. 4 weeks. I think
Yeah,
we're on week 4 of lockdown, and things are getting tough. I think I've watched everything on Netflix. The only thing keeping me sane is my training. What about yourself?
I saw your couple of training session on Instagram. Look like somebody's training in his early 20s, so pretty impressive. And I gotta keep up my training with you. And pretty much watch everything on Netflix and Apple and whatever, all the platforms. So not much to do, but it's tough times for people out there, and hopefully, things should get better in the couple of weeks.
I think they will do. I'm pretty confident that we're going to be allowed out of our houses at some stage, but obviously it's very important at the moment to be staying in. I've noticed on your
Yep.
social media, you've obviously been outreaching to the Indian public. Obviously, you're a very popular man in your country. How are the public of India sort of coping with the situation? Because obviously it's so different to what we're used to here in England in terms of the population and how sort of busy your cities are.
The educated people have to educated people have to educate the uneducated. So uh, so the not so privileged people don't really understand the meaning of social distancing, or people who cannot afford a cell phone or cannot watch television, cannot watch news on television, and probably they're the one who's probably panicking, struggling to have food. So the government and all the ministers or celebrities are trying to reach to all such people as much as possible, trying to deliver food, send money to the Prime Minister's fund, and probably do what we can from home. And probably, everybody's been told that, you can save lives staying from home, and people just need to be. I'm sure the disease can be contained, but just the people have to be more responsible in our country. And that's the message we're trying to spread across in these tough times.
I mean, you're obviously doing a great job from what I've seen. It leads me nicely on to something that's always interested me. I've been lucky enough to experience playing cricket in India as a relative nobody, and the popularity of the game is huge. I mean, the pressures being an international cricketer in India are obviously massive. How have you dealt with that in the past, and how has it has it been a good thing, a bad thing, or is there a bit of a balance in there somewhere?
Well, I really don't. I wouldn't say there's a balance in our country. Cricket is kind of a religion in our country. So when you win, people go crazy. When you lose, people go crazy. So it's hard to manage that madness as long as you've been focusing on what you need to do in the future and how you need to go about your game and prepare, because you can't really handle the emotions of so many people. All you gotta do is you gotta accept that at times you gotta lose, but if you're winning 65% of your games, that means you're doing the right thing. So probably focus on these things. As a young kid, it's very hard to take that criticism because you're immature and you don't know what's your life about. And after a couple of years, when you go through ups and downs, you realize that you got to focus on your job, what's in your hand, what's in your control. You can't really control things what's uh, not in your hands. You can just focus on your game. You can't even control scoring runs, taking wickets. Probably,
I mean, fortunately, though, during the peaks of your careers, the Indian team was just littered with the most amazing players. Sehwag, Tendulkar, yourself, Harbhajan. I mean, the list goes on. Who were the guys in the Indian team that were sort of your best buddies, or influenced your career the most?
um, I think when I started my career, we didn't I started my career in 2000. I was selected first time for India, and that time there was no IPL. And I watched my heroes on television, and suddenly I was sitting with them. Because these days, a lot of these guys play with international players in IPL. They get used to that feeling once they come into international cricket. So I feel it's a bit easier. So it was a bit harder that time. But I think Tendulkar was a very good influence as someone I watched over the years, as someone, ambassador of our country, how he behaved off the field and all the and off on and off the field. We had some, already big legends at that time like Dravid, Ganguly, Kumble, Srinath, big players. So got to learn a lot from them on how they actually operated on the field, how disciplined they were, and what brought back to the game, and what they brought back to the dressing room. So I think learned a lot from these guys, and probably I spoke a lot of my batting with Sachin because I felt he was someone who had a very attacking mindset, and at the same time, uh, he knew when to, be cautious or be patient. So I felt that I could relate a lot with him in terms of thinking about batting. So, and like pretty much that's he's the only guy, and I've spoken to my dad. My dad played international cricket for he played a couple of games, and so basically my father and Sachin have mostly spoken of them about cricket and life and how to get up and keep going and all that stuff that's happened in our lives.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to play against India in a tour match when they played Somerset years ago. And I can remember talking to Rahul Dravid and Tendulkar about batting, obviously, two of the best guys to try and learn from. And Sachin mentioned that his breathing was a big thing for him when he batted, just to control his heart rate and his breathing, and look after how he felt. And then he said that his decision making was much better when he was calm. Is that something that he passed onto you?
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of pressure, and we're losing wickets, and things are not going well. And you always emphasize on, just walking, taking a break after playing one or two balls, and just taking few long breaths and coming back in the moment. Not thinking too much ahead, where like not thinking that I'm going to score 100. Thinking of being in the moment and playing each ball on the merit. So I think just being in that, I think breathing slowly brings you back in that moment where you need to be. So I thought that was a very important thing he said in early days of our career.
That's definitely where I've gone wrong. I'm always panicking when I'm batting, to be fair. So
Man,
how,
T10, T20, the way the world's going, T20, you got no time to think. You got to smash it.
exactly,
So I don't blame
exactly.
you.
Talking about smashing it, because I'm not saying this just because I'm talking to you. One of your career highlights, I mean, for me, I've watched the footage over and over again. You can learn about your breathing, all these kind of things, but hitting Broady for those six sixes, how did you do that? Because I know a number of people who have hit six sixes and over, but to be perfectly honest, in my mind, I don't think the bowlers were that great. You did it against one of England's best bowlers. I mean, I've faced Broady in the nets recently, you know, 10 years on, and he's still an unbelievable bowler. To think of hitting him for six sixes blows my mind. I mean, can you look back and remember how you felt when you did that?
Oh, you got to blame Freddie for that, not Brody. No, I mean,
He made
jokes
you angry.
apart, yeah, we had a bit of a tiff. I mean, you can't compare Stuart Broad's bowling from 2007 to now. He's taken more than 400 test wickets. He's one of the best bowlers in the world, especially in test cricket right now. So he's a completely different bowler now. And his journey, probably, he learned from that setback and he just got better. So I think you have to give credit to that guy who's been, such a great bowler in his career after that setback. But if you go back to that moment, I think a lot of people talk about the six sixes, but a lot of people don't know that I got hit for five sixes against England in a game against Oval. Dimitri Mascarenhas hit me 5 sixes, and that was not a good night's sleep. Uh,
But
and
it's still
probably
5.
when I was yeah, still five. And I remember playing the that T I had like 3 overs to bat, and I didn't have too many balls to face, so I was pretty much swinging and everything. But I think pretty much after the argument, I just like got a bit pumped up. Sometimes an argument can get the worst out of you, or sometimes it works in your favor. So it kind of was like really focused on hitting everything straight. I didn't try to be stupid or sweeping or leaving my wickets those 6 balls. I just wanted to hit everything straight. And I felt that after the fourth, sixth, um, the last 2 balls, obviously, as a bowler, when you get hit for 4 sixes, you are under a lot of pressure. And the offside was really big. I was able to hit 2 sixes, and I think I remember a conversation between Broad and Collingwood. Collingwood, I think, was the captain, and Collingwood told him to stick to the offside because offside is bigger. But Broad actually came onto my side that I'm very comfortable hitting in the depth onto my legs. And I knew he's going to try and bowl into my legs. So I was already opened up to hit him over there. And I remember the fifth ball was mostly a Yorker, hit the toe of my bat. And because it was shorter side, it went over Freddie's head. Bowl where he's going to bowl because he saw. Then I just was really focused on his straight. I mean, I probably am the only guy who hit a fast bowler for 6 sixes because I feel fast bowlers have got Yorkers to bowl or slower bouncer or a bouncer to bowl to get away with that one delivery. So I think it's hard for to hit a fast bowler for six in a row rather than hitting a spinner. Not because I'm not saying because I've hit to a fast bowler. I'm saying because I find it easy hitting a left-hand spinner than a fast bowler.
I totally agree. I mean, from a bowling point of view, I can the only time I can ever remember being, when your brain's gone, when someone's gone after you. In the Champions League, I bowled at Chris Gale at Bangalore, and I can remember my bowling analysis was 3 overs for 55. Justin Langer was my captain at mid-on, and I can remember walking back to my mark, and I said, like, I had 3 balls left to bowl. I said, JL, can you please take me off now? I don't think I can bowl a ball. There's not going to go out the ground. I mean, he was towing it for 6. That's a small ground there. I mean, he was
Yeah.
toe ending the bat for 6, and he hit one that didn't even touch the stadium. I mean, it was so embarrassing, and you've got the heat of India as well, the temperature, the pressure. I mean, I genuinely thought my head was going to pop off. It was horrendous.
Yeah, man.
Maybe that's
why it's not a good idea to be a bowler in T20. Simple as that. It's tough, and you were bowling to one of the best players in the world, so it's tough. Understand what you're
No, it's
saying?
very, 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 very scary. So, I'd love to talk about obviously the successful times that you've had. The World Cup success. I mean, what did that do for the nation? I mean, being in your home country or arriving back to your home country with that trophy, that must have been a super special moment for you, and especially, you mentioned earlier Sachin, who's carried Indian cricket on his shoulders for so long. I remember those interviews that I think one of the Indian players said, this was for him because of how much pressure he'd played under for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 2011 World Cup is something is very hard to describe in words because when you're growing up and you start playing cricket, uh, playing for India and playing for a country is a dream, and then winning the World Cup. Not many great players have had the opportunity to be in the team when India won the World Cup. So pretty much, we won the World Cup in 88 years probably. So Australia dominated most of the cricket, and in between Pakistan and Sri Lanka won, but it was always Australia. So I think after the loss in 2003 finals when we lost to Australia in the World Cup final. I remember Sachin Tendulkar got the man of the tournament, and I remember him holding the trophy without a smile. So, obviously, then the next World Cup, we didn't qualify, and then 2011 World Cup, I felt that we had a lot of experienced players. We had a good experienced captain who had the team for 4 years when Saurav left, and we were playing in India under a lot of pressure. But I just felt that it was bound to happen. It was destiny. Like things went our way. Also, we did played a lot of good cricket, and I think we gelled really well as a unit. And we had a really good coach. The team environment is very important. So I always feel that a success of a team really depends on a group on a good dressing room environment. If you don't have the lads together, things can go in different directions. But when the lads are together and they have one mission, then the outcome is bound to come. So I think we guys were together. In He had played about 22, 21 years of international cricket. That's a really long time, and I mean we knew that he's not going to play another World Cup, and he really deserves this trophy. So I think it was a cohesive effort by the team to win it for him and put our bodies online or whatever you want to say. We had some really high pressure games. We had a quarterfinal against Australia, probably the most pressure game I ever felt in my career. And then playing Pakistan at home, another high pressure game in terms of uh, politics. Um, then we played Sri Lanka in the final. So I think we had some really high pressure games. And if we had to win the World Cup, we had to be the best teams in the tournament. So and it was a dream come true because, as I said, a lot of guys in their career, they score 10,000, 20,000 runs, but they go without a World Cup. Guys like Rahul Dravid and Saurav Ganguly, they have achieved so much for Indian cricket. VVS Lakshman, Anil Kumble, but they don't have a World Cup trophy. So, you're pretty lucky to have it.
Certainly is very, very special. And like I said, watching that, I sensed that team environment was exactly right. I think you can tell a lot when you listen to the post-match interviews, and you could tell that everyone was doing it motivated by their family or the Indian fans or Sachin or someone else. It wasn't a me situation. It was all about doing it together, which definitely come across on the TV. And in that dressing
Yeah.
room, that very, very special dressing room that you played in, who were the real characters, the jokers?
Well, the biggest joke is right in front of you, mate. We
Good man.
we had we had we had a lot of entertainment in the dressing room. We had Ashish Nehra, probably the funniest guy you will ever meet. You would have Harbhajan Singh, another incredibly funny guy. I've grown up with these guys, and myself, we would create mayhem in the dressing room. I think it was important in like pressure situations to have that laugh because you're under pressure all the time. So I think we had a great team environment.
No, definitely a lot of. I mean, I can't even fathom being a Indian cricketer because of the highs and lows. I mean, I've played. I played in Bangladesh, and I can remember, you score 50, take a few wickets, and the owner buys you dinner and buys you a drink, and then you get naught the next game. He won't even speak to you. So, I mean, the pressures you do feel it massively. But obviously, you've had no doubt an absolute dream career on the field. I remember last time I saw you in Dubai in the gym, I said, I asked you about that advert that you were in where you said stylish at the end and swept your hair back. You've done, you've
Let's
done
not
so
talk
many.
about
No. You've done so many cool things on and off the field. What's the future hold? Obviously, you've got franchise cricket. You're still playing. What are your interests off the field? What does the Yuvraj Singh do? The people don't see. Obviously, pretty sure tennis is going to be mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, my hobbies definitely. when I was growing up, I wanted to be a tennis player. I never wanted to play cricket. My father literally took a stick and shoved me on the cricket field, and now I really enjoy playing tennis because he's not there to stop me. He's pretty much satisfied with my career, and
It should be.
I, yeah, I mean, I on my off days, at the moment, obviously, pretty much reading a lot of stuff. I'm a guy who wants to play sports. I can't be without playing sport, even if I'm not playing cricket. If you can see the T-shirt I'm wearing
Yeah.
right now, it's the logo is of my charity. So we try and we run a couple of programs with my charity. We have young kids who have come back from cancer and who parents have lost all their funds in their treatment. So we have scholarships about more than 300 kids. We do treatment for kids who are under the age of 16. Basically, these are all below poverty line, people who can't afford treatments and scholarships. And we do a lot of awareness about cancer in rural areas of India where people are uneducated and they don't really understand what cancer is. So my foundation is doing great work, and plus I have a lot of businesses uh, around my foundation. We have a fashion line, we have a sports line, we're going to start with a health and wellness line. Uh, the brands which actually are a part of the business because that's how I actually recovered by training, recovered by eating well, recovered by going to the right doctors. So I think I have a motive in life. We have about 500 to 700 kids who coach under my academies. So I've got pretty much a vision set up in the near future.
I mean that is amazing. I mean it's a question that I'd obviously love to talk to you more about. And you know, from a sportsman to sportsman point of view, I mean, absolutely devastated when obviously the news broke that you were unwell. But the way you've bounced back and are now doing all these things with your foundation is just it's just absolute testament to why you've been a national hero for so long, and I'm sure you'll continue to do so. The logo looks cool as well. I'm definitely getting online and ordering
Thanks, man.
those. I'll do my next
Cheers.
investment in one of those for sure. But that is really inspiring stuff. I mean, I'm a keen road cyclist, and obviously the sort of Armstrong story. I know obviously it didn't pan out so well in the end, but obviously to come back from that, really, is that one of your proudest achievements, to not only make yourself healthy and survive having that illness, but to come back and still play at the level that you have? I mean, that just blows my mind. I mean, fair play to you, my man.
I mean, if I look back, probably I was the peak of my career when we won the World Cup. I was about 29 years old, and I was just making, probably would have got uh, a couple more chances in Test cricket because I've been waiting in and out for a while. Where guys like Ganguly and Lakshman, they were just retiring, and but suddenly that happened. So it gave me, it was. I mean, you can talk about a lot about it, but just going through that fight and just gave me a perspective of life that, what do I want to do if I come out of this? I think cricket was a big reason that I was able to come out of it because that motivated me every minute to, come back on the park. I know people talk about Lance Armstrong that it didn't fade out well in the end, and I read a lot about him through those times. But I he's still a hero for me because I felt through those adversities how he managed to come out of it. I like a lot of people don't know Lance Armstrong had four chemo cycles. When I was on my third chemo cycle, I told doctor on my when I finished my second chemo cycle, die. I don't care, but I can't take this much pain. So the guy actually went through four cycles of chemo, and then he came to be a world champion 6, 7 times. And I always wondered that how is that possible? And obviously, in the end, you come to know, but still, the guy gave everything, to come back to sport, and I did the same. Probably I struggled, a lot of like doctors said that it won't be possible to come back and play for India, and they said, "Oh, if even if you do, it'll take you about 2 to 3 years." And I remember coming back and playing in 6 months. I felt it was mind over matter. Although I was not that fit, I had to get away from international cricket, and I went to a couple of training camps in Europe, got my body back, and played for the next couple of years. I was in and out of the team, but I never gave up. I think that's the reason why I came and scored my highest one-day score again, because I never gave up, because I believed in myself. And through my story is what I try and tell people and try and inspire people to never give up and to go stronger and stronger and believe they can come out of any adversity. That's why I wrote a book as well about World Cup and cancer when I came out of it.
Well, there's no doubt that the terrible illness you suffered probably cost you a few appearances and some runs and some wickets, Yuvi. But
Yeah,
without without doubt, the positives to bring from that is what you're doing for your fellow man, your fellow Indian that needs that help. And to be honest, mate, your career speaks for itself. Your success on the field, the runs, the wickets you have scored, adding on to this, what you're doing now is so much more important than the odd run, the odd wicket, isn't it? Really, that's the
absolutely.
message I take out of it. And you don't only inspire people like myself, other professional sports people. What you do for your the Indian public and the world public, bouncing back like you have, is absolutely tremendous, and it's unbelievable, mate. The one question I need to finish on now, just thinking about the story you've just told, that absolutely blows my mind. But the real question, the biggest question I can ask you now is Tendulkar or Kohli? Who would you want in your team?
In my team, I probably want both of them, but a lot of people compare these guys. I felt my personal opinion is Sachin played in 4 generations. Yeah. He started in 89, then he went to 90, then 2000, then 2010. So, he's played generation over he's played bowlers over 4 generations. And those times were, if you look at those fast bowlers and look at the bowling units of countries now, probably, Australia, South Africa have got good bowlers. But that time of bowlers that he faced, the rules in one day cricket, and he started opening after 76 ODIs. So while Kohli always batted, top of the order. So, I mean, nothing to take away from Virat Kohli. He's a great player. He's a legend. He's got a great record in one day and test cricket. But for me, uh, for me, if Kohli scores 110 hundreds, he'll be the greatest. But for me, as a person, as a player, I think Tendulkar will always be. There will be no match to Tendulkar for me.
No, I have to agree. I suppose his longevity in the game was just staggering, to be honest. With the pressures he was under, totally agree. I mean, Kohli. I mean, that's the great thing about Indian cricket and this new generation of Indian cricketer. There are some seriously dynamic players. I mean, the future's incredibly bright, isn't it, for the Indian team? How do you see the next few years going for them, and who would be the next superstar that maybe we haven't seen just yet?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, probably our most dynamic batsmen at the moment. Uh, so I feel there are two guys who are going to be gun players in the future. Are going to be Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill. They've just started their careers. One guy is in, one guy has just started to play, and I feel if these guys are guided well, along with Rishabh Pant, um, obviously KL has been doing well for a while, but I feel Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill can be serious match winners if they are nurtured well, and Rishabh Pant if these guys are looked after well. Because I feel what happens with the IPL, young players get a lot of money in the start. They don't know how to handle that kind of distraction. So I think they have to be nurtured really well.
I'm sure they will come good. I'll tell you what, I could do with some financial distractions at the moment because I just had a look on the internet. I showed you earlier. I could do with an IPL contract. I just saw a Porsche. I absolutely fallen in love with it. Maybe that'll be I'm going to have to play for another few
Mate,
years.
the problem with looking at the Porsche is that after a few years you'll be like looking at the next Porsche and the next Porsche and the next one. That's the problem with the cars.
Do you have a favorite car, UV?
I have a lot of favorite cars. I mean, I can afford some, but there are few I can't afford. I currently drive a BMW 6M. I have an M3. I have a M5, and I've been an M fan since a young kid. Tendulkar used to have all these cars, and I used to run around him to take me for a ride. And since then, I fell in love with the BMWs. Probably, I think the Porsches are fantastic cars to drive. But I think I'm a big BMW fan.
Well, as I told you last time, I've got an M4 competition at the moment. So next time you're
Wow.
in London, I'll take you for a spin. UV, it's been unbelievable talking to you. Little snippets, highlights from your career. Again, you've certainly inspired me as an all-rounder. I'm sure you will continue to do that. Can't wait to see you again in the flesh. Maybe we'll do a bit of a gym session and go racing some cars.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to that.
Cheers, UV.
Good talking to you. Cheers, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed my little chat with Yuvraj Singh, absolute legend of a bloke, legend of cricket. And if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.